Shrewd Manager Christianity's position in this series is that there are three alternatives as to whose image is on the Shroud of Turin, and that the correct one is it is a portrait of Jesus of Nazareth. I'll show 30 features of the Shroud that closely match the Gospel's portrait of Jesus' death. Many people believe the image is miraculous. Others think it is the work of human hands. Still others think that it was formed through some natural phenomena. However, for this first series of videos, these disagreements are irrelevant. The only question is whether the image portrays Jesus. Spoiler alert, virtually everyone agrees it does. That's right, nearly all disputants, whether they think the shroud is Jesus' burial cloth or something else, agree. My purpose in this video series is to establish common ground by showing why most agree that the image is Jesus. Later videos get into the areas of dispute. Because the image is so faint, I'll often show faithful reproductions that enhance the image. Sculptures, paintings, and filtered photos. Let's begin. First, Jesus was crucified. These verses in the Gospels tell us this. Now look at the shroud. The blood trails tell us the man's position when he bled. Start with the blood on his forearms. The visible source of one trail implies the source of both, puncture wounds to his wrists. His chest wound tells us his torso was vertical. His bloody feet and bent legs are consistent with being affixed to a vertical post. Combined, these wounds say he bled while in the shape of a capital letter Y. The shroud portrays a crucified man. Second, these verses tell us Jesus was beaten. Here is an enhanced photo of the shroud and an artist's model. The man's facial abrasions and swollen features are obvious. Third, Jesus was scourged. That is, he was whipped or flogged with some kind of weapon. These verses report this. Here are images of the shroud man's many scourge marks over his entire body. Fourth, Roman soldiers put a crown of thorns on Jesus' head. Here are the verses. Look at the marks. The many head wounds are obvious. So here too the shroud portrait matches the Gospels. Fifth, Jesus carried his own cross. Close examination shows that the scourge wounds on the shoulders and upper back are smeared or rubbed. The wounds are consistent with the shroud man being whipped, then carrying a heavy beam on his back and shoulders. Sixth, the shroud man on the image is clearly naked, just like the four Gospels say. Seventh, John tells us none of Jesus' bones were broken. The shroud man's entire body is visible, no broken bones. Eighth, a soldier pierced Jesus' side. That wound is evident here. The portraits match. Ninth, soon after death, Jesus' body was removed from the cross and laid in a tomb. All four Gospels agree. Back to the sculpture. The bent knees may indicate the onset of rigor mortis, but there is no sign of decomposition or animal attacks. In other words, the man recently died, and his body was kept safe from scavengers, like in a sealed tomb. So we have 9 obvious connections between the shroud man and Jesus. Case closed? Hardly. History records tens of thousands of victims of crucifixion. In the next video, I'll argue against my thesis. Maybe the shroud depicts a generic victim, or maybe an anonymous one.